Hey, what's going on, guys? Titus here with a Fusion Festival video, and we're playing Despia. Man, do I love this deck. This deck is so much fun now that it's been updated and it's no longer the nonsense that we had before. We finally have our Branded in Red. We finally have our Masquerade Dragon. We can play this deck. So, let's get into the card by card that I am playing for the Fusion Festival. This is actually really similar to the deck that I'm playing for Ranked as well. So, let's go ahead and get into it. We are playing 2 Effect Veiler, 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom, and 3 Infinite Impermanence for the hand traps. We need Veiler. Not only is it good against certain decks for the negate, but it's also a light target. Can be used to just poly one of our Despia monsters to make Corderus or to make Masquerade Dragon. It's really useful for that. And then, of course, its other effect to be able to just negate something. So really useful. Of course, Maxi. Of course, Ash Blossom. I've said enough about these before. You need them in most decks. There are very few occasions where you won't use them, but most of the time, you're playing Maxi, you're playing Ash Blossom. And then, of course, Infinite Impermanence. I want... because the Fusion Festival is the Fusion Festival, it's almost over, so it's not that big of a deal, but I want to cut these. I want to cut these down, and because we're seeing so much Draco in the Fusion Festival, just be Lightning Storms. Lightning Storms, Twin Twisters, something that interacts with the player, because we're just seeing too much Draco in a Fusion Festival. So this could really be something else, because it doesn't come up enough that it's useful, where back row comes up more, in my opinion. So just food for thought if you are playing the Fusion Festival and you're seeing that you need. So do your Twin Twisters, do your Cyclones, do your MSTs, whatever you have for back row removal, something to get something off the board. So very useful. And then, of course, we are playing the Called by the Graves. They're absolutely needed. I think, in my opinion, they're needed because of DPE in the Fusion Festival specifically. It can just stop DPE immediately. It does affect your DPE, by the way. You won't be able to activate your DPE's effects. You can summon it still, but you can't activate its effects. So say it's on your turn, and they activate their DPE, and you Call by the Grave, and it banishes their DPE, and then you summon one. You can't activate DPE's effects on your turn or their turn. So if they destroy your DPE, it means that it can't activate its effect to come back. Because, so remember that. It does say until the end of the next turn, the effects are negated. So just make sure you're aware of that if you ever Call by the Grave a DPE. So that is it for the hand trap lineup. Of course, we do play Super Poly in Despia. It's insane. It breaks boards. You can't respond to it. It's broken. It's absolutely crazy. So let's go to the Despia cards. We're playing 1 Comedy and 2 Tragedy. Comedy is here because it can stop Imperm. It can stop Veiler. So if a face-up Despia card is getting targeted, you can discard this card and negate it. This could be a 3rd Tragedy. You probably don't really need Comedy. It's okay. The 3rd Tragedy is probably better, but I have found where it comes up and it's useful. So, of course, and then we're playing 3 Aluber. It is the Searcher, so it searches a branded spell or trap. So it can search the theater, branded in red, or branded opening. And then we are playing 1 Dramaturge, 1 Ad Libitum. Dramaturge is here because when it uses a fusion material, it can summon back, and then when an extra deck monster is summoned, it can do a monster negate. So people don't actually know that effect very well right now. So yeah, the monster negate is pretty handy whenever you fusion summon, and you can fusion summon on your opponent's turn with branded in red. So you can have 2 pieces of interaction there, basically. And then, of course, the ad lib for summoning stuff back and for a power boost as well, because it can do the attack boost equal to 100 times the level into the end of the opponent's turn, which is pretty cool, but doesn't come up as much. Usually you use it for the fusion effect, where if something is banished, like one of your level 8 or higher fusion is banished, it can summon it back. So it's pretty useful in that aspect. And then, of course, we're playing 2 Fallen of Albaz. Number 1, it's a super poly. It can be responded to, but it does use your opponent's board. And then it also helps fuse some of these big guys like Albion, Titaniclad, and Brigand the Glory Dragon. So pretty useful card. For another part of the engine, we're playing Patchwork Edge Imp Chain. So 3 Edge Imp Chain, 2 Poly, 2 Patchwork. Very, very useful for whenever Edge of Chain is sent to the graveyard. No matter what, even if it's for cost, if it's sent to the graveyard, it can add Patchwork, and then Patchwork effect activates, add Edge of Chain, add Poly. So it recuperates itself. Very, very useful card. So you can send Edge of Chain for cost off of the Super Poly, and when it hits the graveyard, it will activate its effect and you grab a Patchwork. So super, super useful. For our branded spells, as I said, 3 opening, 2 branded in red, and 1 theater. Theater is insane, and I'll tell you why in just a second, but it's just super, super good. We're playing some draw power with Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness triggers the tragedy if you banish the tragedy, so it's super useful. And then everything in the deck is dark but the hand traps, so it's okay to, you know, draw 1 Aluber off of this and banish the Aluber if you have another one, or draw Albaz and banish the Albaz. So it's like really useful to draw 2 and then just banish 1. If you banish the tragedy, it's just free pluses. You didn't actually neg at all, so it's pretty useful. Okay, and of course we're playing Fusion Destiny, but our Fusion Destiny package is a little different. We're playing 2 Mali, 1 Denier, and the way this works with branded theater is you could play 2 DPE in the deck, which I have in another variant of the deck as well, is playing 2 DPE. And you can just hard make DPE. So you can activate Fusion Destiny, and if something happens to your DPE where they spin it back, or if you play a second one, you can go ahead and summon the Malicious by banishing Malicious, summons the Malicious, then Denier summons itself from the graveyard, then you activate Theater Effect, and then you just make DPE again without activating Fusion Destiny at all. This can also happen, like, say, if you have Opening in your hand. If you have Opening in your hand, and you discard Malicious to summon Aluber Effect grabs Theater, then you activate Malicious Effect, summon Malicious, and then you had a Denier in your hand, and you normal summon the Denier, then you can just make DPE that way. And so you've made DPE without activating Fusion Destiny at all. So it's a really useful card. I really, really like it. I think it's really funny as well that I've had opponents spin my DPE back. And I'm just like, okay, boop, 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 summon another one. You can send the DPE back with the Denier as well. If it's in the graveyard, activate, you know, or sorry, if it's banished, right? Is it banished or engraved? No, it's engraved. Right? Yeah. Yeah, monsters from your deck, graveyard, or that is banished and placed on top of your deck. So you can send it back and then summon it. After you summon it, it'll activate it, send it back, and then you can just make it again. So a really, really useful card. But with that, oh, sorry, not with that. Let's get in the extra deck. We're playing 2 Masquerade. I started playing this at 3 and stopped playing one of these, actually. I don't know why it doesn't have my change. My 3 of these is really useful because if they out 2, you can just go into another one later on. So this is the big guy. This is the new Despia card, but it is a 600 cost, 600 life point cost for your opponent to activate card effects, just period. It doesn't trigger, it doesn't activate, it just is it turns it into a cost to activate anything. And then it can summon back. It won't do the burn anymore when it summons back, but it is just a useful body on board. So I like playing 3 of these. 1 Despia and 1 Light or Dark, so it could be a super poly target. If you have a Despia, it's just super easy to make in general because your entire deck is Light and Darks. So really, really good card. We're playing 2 Titaniclad for Fallen of Albaz targets, along with a Brigand the Glory Dragon, and a Sprend the Iron Dash Dragon is another target, and then Albion the Branded Dragon is another target. Really cool cards to summon, but usually you don't see him come up too much. I have summoned Titaniclad enough that it can, because it boosts its attack, it can get over stuff. So pretty useful, but also just fun for breaking boards with the Fallen of Albaz. So we're also playing our Quarterus, 2 Quarterus and 1 Proskinian. More super poly targets for Despia, but more cards to keep facilitating your Despia plays. This card will make all level 8 anything that is not a level 8 fusion 0 attack, so pretty useful. Because if it's a fusion festival, it's not coming up as much unless they have lower fusion monsters, but a lot of fusion monsters are high level anyway, so it doesn't necessarily come up in fusion festival, but it comes up in regular decks. And then yeah, Proskinian, 1 light, 1 dark, and a Despia, and then you can take a monster in the opponent's grave and summon it to your field, so you can take their DPE and summon it to your side of the field and use their DPE, so super, super useful. And then we were playing 3 super poly targets, This one you don't need to really worry about. This is only for actual events. But it's 2 warriors with different attributes. So if they summon Baron DPE, you can super poly Baron DPE and make guilty, but it's really not useful unless you're playing ranked. But we are playing the Starving Venom Fusion Dragon and the Dracostapelia. Dracostapelia is insane for this event because everyone's ending on a fusion monster, and then if you summon a Dark, then you could just super poly your own monsters and their fusion monster, and then you just make Dracostapelia. So pretty useful. That is it for this one. Let's go check out a game. It's gonna be pretty funny. Alright, we are here in the Fusion Festival, and we are going against Hero. And our hand is kind of weird. I think we're just going to go ahead and activate this Fusion Destiny. It's the only thing we really can do, per se. Sending a melee, sending a denier, summoning Destiny Hero, Phoenix, and Enforcer. Now, I'll pause and I'll say we could have activated Poly here and used Albaz and Tragedy. We could have summoned a Masquerade if we really, really wanted to. And then Tragedy would have triggered, add an Aluber normal summon, and then set like a Branded in red, and then activate a Fusion Destiny. We could have done that. We absolutely could have. But we wanted to save our resources for the next play because Fallen of Albaz is such a good going second card, or even the second turn card. And DPE is so hard to out by itself, and it keeps recurring. They're probably never going to kill you through it regardless. So we're just going to sit on the DPE. We have the Max C in hand to draw more cards, so we're going to see what happens. We're going to shotgun the Max C because we've been getting Kaiju'd like crazy when I was playing this event. So they're going to just go ahead and activate the Fusion Destiny right off the top, sending Dasher from hand and Celestial from grave, summoning DPE. Now, whenever you summon DPE, summon your DPE in defense mode, and here's exactly why. Your DPE will trigger and reduce their DPE in terms of attack. So it can't hit over your DPE's defense, so they can't bait your DPE by attacking into it. They just have to find something else to attack over it. So if you put it in defense, it won't be able to be attacked over by an opponent's DPE. So they set one, they summon a Liquid Soldier, but then go ahead and trigger their DPE, which is really awkward for them because we chain our DPE here, and we are going to trigger their back row, but they go ahead and activate a form change, so it targets a hero fusion monster you control, return it to the extra deck, then special summon from your extra deck one masked hero. So they have, the only target here is DPE. This doesn't negate DPE's effect at all. So we're going to trigger our DPE after they have triggered their form change. They target their DPE, form change into a Anki, we draw a card, we activate DPE, targeting their back row and our DPE. Now their DPE has to resolve, it's non-targeting, and it has to pop 2 cards. It's mandatory, it has to. So they have to pop their Liquid Soldier and their form change. We're going to activate our DPE in the grave, and their DPE is gone, and they're going to attack us for 28. We're going into draw phase. We're going to go ahead and draw an Aluber. Our DPE summons back, and we have the Fallen of Albaz that we kept for last turn. We're going to go ahead and normal summon Fallen of Albaz, activate its effects in Edgem Chain, and fuse into a Draco. Oh, sorry, no, bring in the Glory Dragon, actually, because we have to use Fallen of Albaz material. Bringing the Glory Dragon is just actually pretty cool to summon. Patchwork would trigger. Edgem Chain would trigger, grabbing a Patchwork, but that's the end of the game anyway. They realize they messed up. So make sure you understand that DPE is a non-targeting effect. So if your opponent has no more cards on the field when you trigger your DPE, so if you trigger DPE, they trigger DPE, and there's not another card on the field, you're going to have to pop 2 of your own cards. It just doesn't work because it has to pop 2 cards. And it could be anywhere on the field. 1 on your side of the field, and then 1 from anywhere on the field. So the mandatory part of it is 1 on your side, and then anywhere. If your DPE is no longer on the field, you can't really pop your DPE to get it back, so now you have to pop 2 of your own cards. So make sure you understand that interaction. And with that, guys, thank you for watching the video. Please like the video down below if you found this informative and fun, and we will see you in the next one. Happy dueling, everybody.